Hello everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia and it is Tag Tuesday. I am so glad you're here. If you are new to the channel, welcome. And I have been tagged today by Jim at the Born Again Reader to do the Why Haven't I Read These Books tag. I'm going to include the link to his video in the notes, and so go and check it out and subscribe to Jim's channel. He reads a really interesting and diverse selection of books and talks about them on his channel, and he has a really interesting format because he doesn't appear on the video. You get his voice and all kinds of cool graphics and pictures and things to look at while the video is going along, but you never see Jim. You hear Jim, and he is smart and funny. So check it out, and thanks Jim for this tag, I guess. I just recently did the literary white whales, and now I am being called upon once again to reveal more items from my unread Hall of Shame. So, I have a never-ending supply. So this time it's not specifically classics, although there is one classic prompt. It's a little more, different categories. And so I definitely had answers for all of these prompts. And something that I found out when I did the literary white whales is that the whales began to breed in the comment section because people talked about their own white whales, or they had comments for me about what they thought I would like to read or not read, or read this other book instead, and the whales just began to multiply. So it was fun to talk about. It didn't solve any reading problems because, as we all know, reading and talking about books just begets a longer TBR. So Jim suggested that maybe these could be my literary dolphins, since they are related to the white whales, but a little bit different. So without further ado, I will present 5 dolphins, books that I have around that I really do want to read, and I really do mean to read, but why have I not yet read them? That is today's subject at hand. The first prompt is a classic. So, as if I did not exhaust this topic recently, once again, I had numerous books that I could have shared for this prompt. A classic that I don't understand why I haven't read it yet, and I've been meaning to read it, and it's just kind of sitting around and waiting. So the one I've selected for today is Bleak House by Charles Dickens. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I'm on a very slow, boiling effort to read more Charles Dickens, and every several months I do sort of bring this up again, and I have made some progress. I read David Copperfield a few months ago, and this is when I was discovering the secret to reading some of these very long books, and also nonfiction books, is to read it as a second book on the side. I know this is not a new discovery for most people, but it was something I had been a diehard one book at a time reader, but now I am having a lot of success with reading a second book, as long as it is a totally different time period or genre, or it's nonfiction or whatever. I can just keep booking my way through other fiction books and have this other longer thing or slower paced thing on the side. So I think that would work for Bleak House, also because of the episodic nature of the text. But the reason why I've always wanted to read Bleak House, I don't just want to read any old Charles Dickens or all of Charles Dickens. There's certain books that I particularly am interested in, and Bleak House is up in the top of the list because many people that I have asked, or that I have read articles or commentaries by, have said that this was their favorite Charles Dickens book. And also it has been mentioned that it's a mystery. And so those two things attracted me. I don't know. I like the title too. It's very intriguing to me. I have this nice edition, this cloth-bound edition with the bird cages on it. There's just many things drawing me to Bleak House. So you can tell me if you liked it, you didn't like it. Alternative suggestions if you wish. But I do think I'm going to read this. I have several books like this that are longer that I have mentioned, And I'm just going to keep trying to slot them one by one and keep reading something on the side. So now that I finished reading How the Word is Passed, I'm ready to read a longer fiction book on the side. So maybe I will actually start Bleak House. It could actually, it could be coming. Maybe that change in the atmosphere is not a rainstorm. It's my mental energies gathering forth to start reading Bleak House. All right, the next category is fiction. So that's just wide open. I decided to go in the totally opposite direction of the Big Mammoth book, and I chose this one, A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. This is one of those cases where I heard about a book and I just had to have it right away, and I ran out and got a copy, and now I've had it for at least 6 months. I mean, it's not so bad like a book that I've had for 10 years or something, but I've had it a long time. But the idea was I was so hot and heavy to read it right away, and then I haven't done a thing. So what happened, this is not a new book. This book was published in 1980, and it is by an author, a British author, who had a long career as a teacher and then began writing fiction and nonfiction a little bit later on in life, in his 50s. And he was actually shortlisted twice for the Booker Prize, for A Month in the Country, and also for another book that I had never heard of called The Battle of Pollux Crossing in 1985. And this one was 1980. And he had several other fiction books. He wrote children's books. He wrote some pretty weird sounding nonfiction, very esoteric encyclopedias of famous cricket players and oddball stuff. So he sounded pretty interesting. But for some reason, you know how the tides move around in mysterious ways on BookTube. And I heard about 3 different people in a 1-month span talk about how much they enjoyed this book. It might be because there was a little run of people talking about short novels. And this is short. This copy is 135 pages. So, I've even taken this along in this past few months that I've had it. I've taken it along at least once on a trip as a backup read in case my original book, I finished it or DNF'd or something. This came along as a backup, but it never made it into the game. It stayed on the bench. But I still really want to read it. It is about a man. He's a World War I veteran, and let's see, his marriage has fallen apart. He goes to a little village, a Yorkshire village, to restore a medieval mural in the local church. And so he's there, and let's see, he is laboring each day to uncover an anonymous painter's extraordinary depiction of the apocalypse, and he finds that he himself has been restored to a new and hopeful attachment to life. So I think it's one of those smaller, quieter books that just has some sort of emotional wallop. I just, for some reason, have not made time for it, but I'm traveling next week. Maybe it will make it into my bag once again. So let me know if you've read A Month in the Country, and if you've read any of these other books. This seems to be his best known book, but if there's other books by Carr that I should think about, you can tell me that as well. The next category is nonfiction. And you may know, if you've been watching my channel, that I have a checkered history of reading nonfiction very sporadically. But I always have lots of ideas about nonfiction books that I want to read. And I'm doing a little better now that I have revolutionized my reading on the side method. But here's a book that I bought back in December. And again, I was so excited. I just had to race out and get it because I'd heard all these great things about it, and I have not made a single move to opening this book. And that is The Facemaker by Lindsey Fitzharris. Recently seen in my tag video last week about beautiful covers, because it was one of my typography selections. And this is a book about a doctor named Harold Gillies, who was a pioneering plastic surgeon after World War I, who pioneered plastic surgery techniques to restore the faces of disfigured soldiers. It sounds really interesting. It has photographs that show some of the amazing before and after photographs of some of the people that he helped, and it just sounds like a really interesting story. Why have I not even cracked it open? I don't know, but again, another candidate to either read on the side or for Nonfiction November. And she did also write another book that sounds pretty interesting. Listen to this title, though. The Butchering Art, Joseph Lister's Quest to Transform the Grisly World of Victorian Medicine. Okay, I bet that is really disgusting and really fascinating. And if I like The Facemaker, perhaps I will circle back and try that book as well. So let me know if you've read either of these. It looks really good. Love the cover. Love the topic. I really am going to read it. I promise. So we have two more topics. The next one is a genre book. This is the one I've chosen for this. It is Termination Shock by Neal, Stephenson, and it is another one. It's kind of one of those, a baby mammoth that's like almost 700 pages. So it's like a teenage mammoth, I guess. But this is a book that we bought at the big Barnes & Noble sale, not the one this past year, 2022, but 2021. And when we went to that sale, I bought a bunch of books. We went twice, to like 2 different locations. I bought, a big old stack, and Stephen bought this one book. He was the soul of discretion. He bought just one book, but he really, really liked it, and he said he thought I would like it too. And he has mentioned this book numerous times since. Certain other things that we have read or that we have seen in a show, and he says, oh, that was like in Termination Shock, and it just, every time I'm intrigued, I'm like, oh man, I want to read that. It sounds good, because I really do like a good fast-paced, smart science fiction book every now and then. I like speculative, I like dystopian, something like this. And here's a little bit about what it's about. Let's see. One man, visionary billionaire restaurant chain magnate T.R. Schmidt, PhD, has a big idea for reversing global warming, a master plan perhaps best described as elemental. But will it work? And just as important, what are the consequences for the planet and all humanity if applied? Okay, well, that sounds kind of vague, but apparently the world is more screwed up than it actually is now, but in a realistic way that's not hard to imagine, with climate change and pandemics. And I don't know what his big idea is, but it is an exhilarating, witty, mind-expanding, speculative adventure. And there's a nice map in here with Texas in it. And anyway, the things that he has told me about it, it sounds very interesting. I think I will enjoy the fast pace and the adventure of it when I actually get it underway. And I don't even think it's probably not a read on the side book, because if it's really suspenseful, I'll just want to just read that. And I actually am capable of reading one long book from start to finish. I just get so antsy about all the other books I want to read. But I actually can do it, and I will do it soon-ish. Final category in this tag is a book that has been on your shelf the longest. Well, so I went on a tour of the shelves, and some of the ones that have lingered the longest without being read, I have talked about in other videos. So I was really looking for one that I haven't, something fresh that has been sadly neglected, but I haven't featured it before. And I wish that I had found nothing, but I found something, and I'm kind of shocked at what I found. And here it is. I found this book by Margaret Atwood, Moral Disorder and Other Stories. And this was published in 2006, I think. And it looks brand new. And I showed it to Steve, and I said, what is the story? Why did I not read this? I'm looking at it, and it's ringing 0 bells. Did you read it? Did I read it? He said, I thought you read it. I said, I don't think I read it. It says it's interconnected stories. We love some interconnected stories. It goes through the decades. I love that too. And it's about focusing on a character named Tig, I think. It appears in many stories. It sounds like my kind of thing. I will say as far as Margaret Atwood is concerned, I am a bigger fan of her novels than her short stories, but I have read and enjoyed a couple of her short story collections. I have Wilderness Tips over there, and I think I have another one. I haven't read her newest book of stories. I saw it at the library. I can't tell you why I haven't read it, but I really, and then I wonder if I start reading it, am I going to have a big deja vu and it turns out I really did read it? But I don't feel like my brain has disintegrated that much since 2006 that I read it and have zero knowledge of this whatsoever, because that was a little ways back, but it wasn't that long ago. So but then I started looking at it and I thought this actually sounds really good. I think the cover's cool. I don't know why this has been hiding in plain sight on my bookshelves since at least 2006, but I have discovered it and I shall make amends as soon as possible. Let me know if you have read this collection of stories. There's another, the alternative is that at once upon a time I read the first story and it stunk and then I put it away, but maybe that'll come back to me as well. I don't know. I can't explain it. All right, so those are today's collection of reading omissions. I am sure I could make these videos about stuff I wish I had read or planned to read or why did I never read. I could probably make them 25 times with different material, because the more you read, the more apparently you have not read. It's just the way it goes in this reading life. So I hope that you found something interesting in this video. Please comment below about which of these books you have read, not read, something else that you didn't read. What do you think I should read? Whatever you feel like saying. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a great day. I'll be back for Friday Reads. Bye-bye.